What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Fishing with Nordby. Out in the shop today, we are replacing the old Trek steering cables. I was out on the water yesterday, and if you're having the same issue watching this, here's what happened. I was out on the water, I had spot lock on, and all of a sudden my spot lock shut off, and my cable, or my trolling motor just limp. And I'd press all the way down and it would only turn one direction. I'd hit spot lock, it would only turn one direction, and it would wrap up all my cables. So now I'm diagnosing what's wrong. I took it to a marine, and this little guy right here was sticking out right in here. And what he did, he pulled on it, and as you can see, the cable slid and moved, and he said, yeah, your cable's broke. So what that tells you is the cable going up into the head of the motor here broke right up here, most likely. So what we're gonna do today, as quick as we can in this video to teach you guys, we're gonna take apart the Ultrex trolling motor foot pedal, and I'm gonna show you how to replace it in the easiest way possible. He said you want to do both of them at the same time. So I got two cables, even though only one broke, because likely the other one is getting rubbed raw too, and it could break next time you're out on the water. And we can't do that. We have a tournament coming up in 3 days. So we're gonna replace this step by step. Let's get to it. Make sure you click that subscribe button, subscribe to my YouTube channel, especially if you haven't seen it before. Subscribe. Let's go. Tools you need. You need a Phillips screwdriver, you need some needle nose pliers to grab the wires. I think that's about it. So first thing I'm gonna do, pull this all the way out, get that wire out of the way, and then I got this flipped over. We're gonna remove the back plate from the trolling motor foot pedal. This back silver plate. Alright, got the plate off, and now what we have to do next is take off the tiny little plate right here. You gotta take this one off while you're at it, because that is where one of the cables is wrapped around. You can see my cable is sticking out right here. That's not what you want, sticking out. And it wraps around this thing. It looks like both of them broke actually. So we're gonna remove that right there. Alright, so they did not both break. The one wrapped around this little pulley here is still in place, and it's not pulling out. I can't pull it out. It's just slack right now because of the way the motor's turned. So that's alright. Get it tight. And we'll see how it looks. Honestly, if I get up to where the other one broke and this one's in good shape, I might not replace it, even though it was recommended, just because I want to get back out on the water and fish. Alright guys, so our next step here is pulling out the old cable cord. Right here, this is the one that broke, so you have to pop that rubber thing through the metal, and then we're going to feed it out, and we got to feed it back through this cord all the way up, and we got to take this apart. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to drop my trolling motor. Luckily, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to drop my trolling motor. Luckily, I can do that inside my shop here. We're going to take apart the top of this housing, that's where it connects, and we're going to feed that wire all the way through here. And what I'm going to do, that way it's easier to feed it through, is you need yourself a tiny little piece of braided line right here, and we're going to tie the braided line to this end and tie it to the end of our new cable. That way we can pull and push at the same time, and it'll come through that cord a lot easier. Alright, so I tied braid onto this side, and I tied braid onto this side. I had to pop this end out of this metal grommet. See how that's inside of there? You take your pliers and you pop it out, pop it up, sitting over the metal, tie them together. Now we're going to take the top off of this and shove it through. To get inside of this, just take your pliers, pop this up. This little lid will come off just like that. Then we're going to get to our screw, which would be right down there, our screw hole. There's two screws you got to get, one at the front and one at the back once you take that cover off. And this guy should pop up just like that. And you'll have your wiring in there. Look at that. I'm going to have to replace both cables, because this one, you can see, this one right here is about shot. Look at that. That is a bad deal. Minn Kota should not be making stuff that is going bad like that. If you can see that, the wires are split. So both my cables were about shot. This one completely broke right there, and that one's about shot. So we're going to replace both cables today, and they wrap around the head right here. And remember, if you take off this head piece right here, remember that this little groove part is always sticking out right there. And as you can see, I got to put my flashlight on it. That's where your cables come out. That's where we're going to pull them out of. And then you can see that one detaches on the bottom there. You got to lift up this little knob right here to be able to slide it in. And the other one attaches right on the top in that other hole. And so you just follow the grooves and reinstall them. So I've got one of my cables hooked up. We're going to leave the one that's still in place for now. And I'm actually going to connect it just so it doesn't slide out or anything. I'm going to put it in the top here, connect it. So there it is, it's connected. The one that broke, however, I'm going to pull that one through first. We'll leave the other one set up, and then we're going to do the same thing. Attach the next one with braid, slide it through, hook it up, and it's really a pretty simple process. You can do it yourself. The only reason I'm doing it, even though my motor's under warranty, is because the Marine couldn't get to it for a few days, and I got a tournament. So we're going to slide these through. Once you get this plate off, there's two more screws, one here and one here, that'll remove this side of the plate. And you need to take off both sides. That way you can get to the back side of where these little pieces of plastic are pushed through. Another quick tip I want to tell you guys about: take the end out of your screwdriver bit, or grab you a tiny little bit. You cannot fit a screwdriver in between the motor and this left screw. So I'm putting this in the holes and I'm pushing against it and using my pliers to break it loose, and then I'm using my fingers to get that last screw out. Okay, once you have that removed, you can see where this end needs to be pushed through. So I have to squeeze on this end, push it through the metal, and then that's where I pull through my cable right there. To slide the cables through, you need to make sure you take this plate off as well. Once you get the heads inside the tube on this end, it's pretty easy to pull them through on this end. So just a side note, make sure you pass the front of this tubing and it's a lot easier. Make sure you can freely slide this in there too. Alright, just pulled it through, cut my braid. First one's through, and it's going to go on the bottom here, and that's the one on the left. Remember what side's which. I'm going to have to shove it in this plate, put the front of it in that little hole, but cut my braid off this end first, and then we're going to slide the next cable through. And just a side note, this is 80-pound braid. It broke at the last second, so I recommend you do multiple knots, not just connected like that. I recommend you tie about 3 of these. That would not have been good if it broke inside the little slip. Alright, I shoved this in through the metal piece, got the clip out on the other side. I fed the wire through the hole there, and now I'm going to put the wire inside of the socket where it's supposed to go, right there. I'm going to slide it in. You're going to have to adjust the foot pedal to where it's way back here to be able to slide it in. And you might have to use your pliers to get it to go down in there, but it's got to go in that little hole through the top right up there. Alright, just slip that into place. You just kind of use your pliers and wiggle it down in there. And then I came over here and I took my cable and I just put it here to show you guys. You're going to wrap it around this left side, and it's going to come down and it's going to slip into position on the bottom there. But first I have to go through this hole, but I just wanted to show you guys how that works, how that goes in this little doohickey. Alright, I just shoved this thing back in the plate, took this out, popped the top off, put it through the hole, spun it so it's wrapped around where it's supposed to be, one loop, and then it comes down on the bottom and it's hooked in right there. Now we're going to take the other one off. Next thing you do, make sure your foot pedal's all the way forward. I had to turn my motor on since I already hooked this one up and it's not free spinning anymore. But since that one's shredded, we're going to pop out this cable right here, just like that. I'm going to pull the cable on this side that's shredded. Look at that, that's crazy. That is not good. That was just waiting to break on me, just like the one that did while it was spot locked. I'm going to pull that through. There we go. Just like that. And now it's at the end of this. and I'm gonna take my pliers, I'm gonna pop this thing back through where it's supposed to go. All right, popped it through, pulled it out a little bit, tied braid around it twice this time, tied braid around this end twice, and now we're gonna start shoving on this end, get them both past this little buckle here, and we're gonna be pulling on this end. If you got two people, you can do this at the same time, go a little easier. We're gonna pull this one out, so we're gonna yank and push and get this last cable through. Gonna tell you right now, as soon as you see that second cable pop through like that, that's a beautiful sight. There we go, we got it through. Doesn't take too much effort, you just know you got it. You're on the home run. So now we're gonna connect this. I'll finish showing you guys how to connect it, and then we're gonna put the boat back together. I'm gonna get back out on the water out here on Lake Guntersville. Again, if this is the first time you're seeing my channel, make sure you subscribe. Let's finish wrapping this project up. One of the first steps after you get everything off, there's a tension knob here. You wanna go ahead and loosen the tension on your wires all the way, and then we'll tighten that back down at the end. All right, so once you get both of these hooked up, don't put the covers back on them yet. Make sure you get both ends hooked up, tighten the wires how you want them first, then put everything back together. So I just got this one fed through. We're going to put it back in that little piece of metal, feed it through, go around that loop, and attach it to the foot control. For this last part, before you put that pulley on, I recommend you go ahead and put the wire inside of where it's supposed to go, right here, and then you take the pulley and squeeze the wire over and drop it on this ring right there. Then you'll be finished. The wires will be in place, and we're gonna tighten this nut up. Just got it inserted. We're doing the final step here. You gotta push all the way down with the foot pedal to fit this on that ring. And once you get the foot pedal pressed all the way down, it should fit over nicely. Again, make sure you've unscrewed the tip of that and loosened your wires. Now, they're pretty loose, so you don't want them to be that loose. We're going to go ahead and tighten up the tip of that all the way back down to where it was, pretty tight. All right, those wires are tight. Now we're gonna put all the covers back on, but before you put the covers back on, go ahead and flip your motor over, turn it on, and isn't that a beautiful sight? You can now use your foot control again. There you have it. We're gonna put the covers back on. Same thing we did taking them off, so I'm not gonna show that to you guys. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Hope you learned how to install cables on your Ultrex trolling motor. If you have any other how-to videos you need to watch, I probably did some. And then I make a ton of fun fishing videos. That's what my channel is mainly about. So God bless you guys. Make sure you subscribe for more. We'll catch you next time here on Fishing with Norby.